You know that moment when the universe stops pretending to be subtle. Mine happened over a stainless steel trash can. He didn't yell, he didn't even flinch. He just held my wedding ring between two fingers like a gum wrapper, looked me dead in the eyes, and let it drop. Clink. Metal on metal. Promise into landfill. People love to say, "Girl, just move on." Cute, but moving on is a direction. I needed a destination. So I shut my mouth, opened my notes app, and began taking inventory. Not of pain, of leverage. The type you build quietly, brick by brick, call by call, resume by resume, until the world mistakes your calm for surrender. It wasn't surrender. It was setup. This is the story of how I stopped auditioning for his approval and started interviewing for my own future. How the woman he tried to throw away ended up getting a welcome aboard email from the same company that put his last name on a badge. And yes, he saw it. He had to. Because sometimes the most poetic closure is not a speech. It's a signature at the bottom of an offer letter. Buckle up. I'm Olivia Brooks, and this is how a ring in the trash became the loudest green light of my life. The ring hit the metal, and my heartbeat tried to catch up. You know when adrenaline makes everything brighter and slower at the same time? That. The kitchen clock sounded like a hammer. The refrigerator hummed like it had a secret. And Ethan, my husband, leaned on the counter like he just won something I didn't know we were competing for. "Olivia," he said, using my full name the way a manager says, per my last email, "maybe now you'll stop making everything so dramatic." He wanted me to break. He wanted me to scramble, dive into the trash like a raccoon, beg for the little circle that told the world I belonged to him. But it hit me right then. That ring had been saying I belonged to a version of me I didn't recognize anymore. The girl who apologized for taking up space, the woman who did his emotional laundry and called it love. Instead of crying, I scanned the room like I was reading a crime scene. The bar stool where I waited through his work emergencies, the shoes by the door he swore were new, but I knew were bought for a date that didn't include me. The sink full of coffee mugs with lipstick that wasn't my shade. Evidence. Not the gotcha kind. The wake up sis kind. "Cool," I said. My voice sounded rented. Calm, even. Like it came with insurance. "Take the trash out then." He blinked. I didn't give him the show. I didn't even give him eye contact. I wiped the counter, rinsed the glass. My hands were steady, and I realized I wasn't performing calm. I was choosing it. That's the day I learned that silence can be a high-yield savings account. You deposit patience, it pays out options. After he slammed the door, because, of course, our condo exhaled. I walked to the trash, lifted the lid, and looked down at the ring. I didn't pick it up. Not yet. I pulled out my phone and started a new note. Project. Exit. Timeline. Money. Network. Receipts. You can't out-scream a man like Ethan, but you can out-plan him. I checked my checking. I checked my credit. I checked my pulse. Still here. Then I opened LinkedIn like a woman opening a vault. The last time I'd updated my profile was pre-pandemic. Cute. I switched the profile photo, sharpened the headline, product strategy, market positioning, turning messy problems into clean wins. Then I took a breath and DM'd someone I hadn't talked to in years. Maya Chen, the sharpest operator I ever worked with at a startup that burned bright and fell apart. She'd landed somewhere serious. Apex Dynamics, the kind of serious that buys buildings and changes road names. I typed, "Maya, long time. I'm exploring. Would love 5 minutes of your brain." Before I could talk myself out of it, I hit send. The little sent checkmark glowed like a lighthouse. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't waiting for Ethan to come home. I was waiting for my next life to reply. I finally reached into the trash. The ring looked smaller than I remembered, like a promise that had shrunk in the wash. I cleaned it, dropped it in a jewelry dish, and whispered to the empty room, "You're not my future. You're just a receipt." That night, I slept on top of the comforter, lights on, like a traveler catching a short layover between planes. Because that's what this was. Not a disaster, a connection. Next flight boarding soon. Morning has a different smell when you're done pretending. Coffee hit stronger, the air felt thinner, like the apartment had lost weight. I put on sneakers, tied my hair, and made a deal with the mirror. We're not falling apart, we're falling forward. I drew a line down the center of a page. Emotion on the left, execution on the right. Under emotion, I dumped it all. Anger, embarrassment, grief, betrayal. The left side of the page looked like a storm cloud. On the right, I wrote 5 words: cash, calendar, contacts, credibility, cover. Cash. I listed everything I could liquidate without drama. Old tech, designer bag I'd convinced myself was an investment. The emergency fund I'd been afraid to touch because I kept hoping our marriage would become one. Then I added a new stream: consulting. 2 former clients still liked me. I liked invoices. Calendar. I blocked my week like a ruthless assistant. Early mornings for applications, late nights for strategy, lunch breaks for calls in the car. Not someday, not when the vibes improve. Now. Contacts. I didn't need a crowd. I needed nodes, people who light up other people. Maya was one. I also pinged Andre Lewis, a PM I once saved from a messy launch with a deck and a Hail Mary. And Priya Natarajan, a product marketer who could read a market like a map. I crafted each message like a custom suit. No templates, no fumes of desperation. Curiosity, value, a crisp ask. Credibility. I refreshed my portfolio, not the pretty fluff, the gritty wins. Cut churn 18% in Q2. Shift feature X that unlocked 4.2 million pipeline. Bullets, verbs, numbers. I didn't beg. I built. Cover. This part was chess. Ethan wasn't violent, but he was observant when it served him. So I turned my phone brightness down, set notifications to deliver quietly, and synced everything to a private email he didn't know existed. I also started forwarding receipts, emotional and literal, to a folder called If Needed. Not to be vindictive, to be safe. At 10:07 a.m., my phone lit up. Maya, girl, 5 minutes, make it 30. 1 p.m.? I smiled into my coffee like it had told a joke. I texted back, 1 works. You're a lifesaver. She replied with a calendar invite from her Apex Dynamics address. Subject line: quick catch-up, product strategy. Apex. Ethan's company wasn't Apex. He worked at Lodestar, a vendor Apex used, sometimes competed with, often relied on. I knew that because I'd heard the name too many times over dinner while he explained complicated things like I wasn't fluent in complicated. Funny how much you learn when you stop trying to be agreeable and start trying to be accurate. Between 10 and 1, I didn't spiral. I prepped. I wrote a tight 2-minute origin story: problem, pattern, proof. I listed 3 Apex initiatives I'd read about and outlined how I'd move the needle. I drafted questions that made me sound like a peer, not a petitioner. And then I did the most important thing. I rehearsed saying no to any opportunity that paid in visibility, vibes, or "we'll circle back." Exposure doesn't pay rent. At 1 p.m., I took the call from my car, parked 2 blocks from the apartment because privacy is a kind of power. Liv, Maya's voice was sunshine and caffeine. We did the catch-up dance, pandemic, promotions. That one time our CEO tried to pivot to blockchain because he got invited to a golf thing. Then she got serious. Listen, we're spinning up a strategic initiatives pod. Small, mean, surgical, cross-functional. We need someone who can walk into a mess and leave a roadmap. That's you. I leaned back, but I leaned in. What's the mandate? She said, trim fat, accelerate adoption, translate exec speak into shippable reality. It's not sexy, it's impact. Impact is my love language. What's the timeline? She said, we're moving, and I could hear typing. Send me your deck today. I'll put it in front of Elena Morales, my VP, tonight. My heart did the thing, but my brain stayed steady. I'll have it to you by 3. She said, Olivia, softer. Whatever lit this fire under you, use it, but don't let it burn you. I said,
I won't. I'm building with it. We hung up, I opened my laptop in the passenger seat and built a 12-slide deck that could win in a courtroom. Title slide: From Chaos to Cadence. Strategic plays to convert friction into momentum. I paired each recommendation with a metric, a risk, and a mitigation. No fluff, no synergy, just oxygen. At 2:54, I hit send. At 2:58, Maya replied with a fire emoji and 3 words: she wants to meet. I closed my eyes and let the sun warm my face through the windshield. The neighborhood buzzed. Somewhere, a kid laughed. Somewhere else, a dog barked at a leaf. Life was still happening, unbothered by my plot twist. I put the car in drive and smiled. Tonight,
I read it twice, then once more, slow. The ring in the dish caught a slice of light like it wanted to be part of the scene. I didn't touch it. I opened the draft, reviewed the comp, the scope, the reporting line, the relocation box left unchecked because my life is not a suitcase. I added 2 comments, one about a signing bonus stagger, one about an education stipend. Not greed, precision. Then I clicked reply and wrote the calmest sentence of my career. Thank you. These terms look aligned. Please proceed with the formal offer package. Somewhere across town, a man who tossed a ring into a trash can was about to receive a very different kind of notification. Not a speech, not a scene, just a PDF with my name at the top and a header that said, offer letter. By afternoon, my inbox was a parade. Recruiting, legal, IT. The subject lines read like choreography. Background check authorization, standard COI disclosure, equipment preferences. Nothing romantic, everything real. I poured water, rolled my shoulders, and opened the conflict of interest form as it was a truth serum. No poetry there, just boxes. Do you have a familial or romantic relationship with any employee of a strategic vendor or competitor? The kind of question that looks generic until it looks right at you. I could have danced around it. I didn't. I typed, yes, estranged spouse is an employee of Lodestar vendor. I attached the only 2 documents that mattered, my separate address and the pending separation agreement drafted months ago and left in a drawer like a fire extinguisher. I wrote one more line in the notes field. No shared devices, no shared accounts, no access overlap. Boring is beautiful. I hit submit and felt a physical click inside my chest, like a lock sliding. Clean lines. That's the difference between a plot twist and a mess. One is written down. Maya pinged me, saw your COI, thank you. You just made compliance fall in love. Good, I typed back. I'm courting the boring people now. Smart woman, she replied. Also, heads up, Lodestar will be notified once your formal offer is issued. Paper cuts only, no drama. At 4:11 p.m., Apex Legal sent a 1-paragraph acknowledgement confirming receipt, plus 2 bullet points. Stay off Lodestar systems, route any sensitive comms through the bridge team. Simple, adult. Then my phone buzzed with a number I knew by the shape of it, Ethan. I watched it vibrate out its little storm and stop. A minute later, the voicemail transcribed itself onto my screen, like a bad caption. Olivia, what are you doing? This is childish. You know how this looks. Call me back and we can manage optics. Manage optics. I could hear the capital letters. I didn't call. I opened the note titled Noise versus Signal. Under noise, I wrote, voicemails, performative concern, bait. Under signal, I wrote, offer, start date, first 30-day plan. I built that plan the way I built everything now, from the outside in. Day 1 to 10, listen like it's billable. Meet the operators before the orators. Map the real org chart, the one made of favors and friction. Day 11 to 20, ship one visible, non-controversial win that makes someone's Tuesday easier. Socialize a new glossary like it's oxygen. Day 21 to 30, publish the first boring memo. What we learned, what we're doing, what we're killing. Invite disagreement in writing. Clarity loves ink. At 6:02 p.m., ding, subject, formal offer, Olivia Brooks. The doc opened slow like it knew it mattered. Signature black at the end. I read every clause, then signed with the steadiness of someone signing a lease on her own future. 2 minutes later, recruiting replied with confetti energy and a logistics line that made me exhale. We've notified key partners, so access and handoffs are clean. See you on the 15th. Key partners, as in Lodestar, as in Ethan's manager's inbox just got my name dressed in HR email formatting. I closed my laptop, turned off every light except the little lamp by the couch, and let the room be quiet with me. The ring in the dish was still and small. I considered moving it, then left it there, like a museum label next to an artifact. Exhibit a story I exited. I slept like paperwork, flat and complete. Wednesday morning came kind. The coffee smelled like a contract. My phone showed a text from an unknown number that didn't bother with hello. So that's the game. I blocked it. I'm not playing games, I'm building a life. Apex sent me a welcome packet with the kind of details that make grown-ups giddy. Health coverage start date, perk credits, a stipend for a work chair that won't hurt my spine. Then came the email I knew was coming but still felt like a small drum in my throat. Vendor notification complete. Lodestar acknowledged. I pictured the chain reaction. HR to HR, HR to Ethan's manager, manager to Ethan, maybe with a throat clear first, maybe with a neutral tone, maybe with a heads up. I didn't need to see it. I could feel the air cooling on the other side of town. At 4:03, my phone rang again, different number. The transcript rolled in onto my screen. Olivia, it's Ethan. We need to talk now. This is a conflict and you know it. I can fix this if you stop. He thinks I'm a fire to be smothered. I'm not a fire. I'm infrastructure. I opened my laptop, wrote one email to Apex Legal in Atlanta. Team, acknowledging I've received personal contact from a Lodestar employee, Ethan Hartman, regarding my hire. I'm not engaging. If any communication is needed, happy to route through you and the bridge team. I'll keep a written log for your records. OB. Alina replied in 4 minutes, the way only leaders who run towards problems can. Perfect response, thank you. We've informed Lodestar that any concerns must come through their legal. You're doing everything right. Keep your focus where it pays. Focus where it pays. Copy that. At 11:30, Maya FaceTimed me from a conference room with bad lighting and good energy. She said 2 things. 1, your start date is locked. 2, the pilot you framed, Lodestar just agreed to our exact scope. No barking, no posturing. Whoever you rattled, you also calmed. I let that sink in. Authority isn't volume, it's velocity with receipts. After lunch, I drafted my day 0 email, the one I'd send to the bridge team the Friday before I started. Subject, hello from Olivia, here's how we'll work. 3 bullets, clear cadence. We'll keep meetings short and documents long. A promise to publish decisions in one place. A request for 1 line from each person. What slows you down that shouldn't? I saved it in drafts like a pebble in my pocket. Then I did something ceremonial and small. I opened my notes app and archived Project Exit. Not deleted, archived. I started a new note, Project Enter. Principle 1, be useful before being impressive. Principle 2, if it can't be explained in a paragraph, it's probably hiding a problem. Principle 3, don't confuse motion with momentum. My doorbell rang at 3:07. A courier with a plain box my Apex laptop. Early, I signed with a real pen that left a real line. The weight of the box in my hands was quiet, like responsibility. I cut the tape, slid the machine out, and pressed the power button. The logo pulsed on, soft and sure. Setup screens, passwords, a new email address that looked good on me. I set my wallpaper to a black background with 3 white words in the corner. Make it boring. At 4:22, my personal email pinged with an actual surprise. An invitation to a Women in Product panel hosted by Apex in 3 weeks. Maya had added me as a late speaker. I typed, "Is this too soon?" She responded, "It's 5 minutes, fireside style. Not about your personal life, about turning chaos into cadence. You've been doing it in real time." I said yes, because visibility isn't a currency if you don't spend it with intention. As the day folded into evening, I chopped vegetables and turned on a tiny jazz station like my apartment needed a soundtrack. The ring in the dish caught the last light and threw it back at the wall in a thin line. Not a spotlight, a pencil mark. An underline beneath a sentence I was finally ready to read out loud. You are not the thing he threw away. You're the one who walked away. Pilot week moved like a metronome. No heroics, just rhythm. Every morning at 9:05, the bridge team stand-up snapped into place, 15 minutes. 4 checkboxes. What changed, what broke, what we're shipping, what we're killing. People showed up on time because the meeting ended on time. That's the secret. We shipped the tracer first. Thin, surgical, invisible to customers but loud to us. Within hours, the map lit up with blips where the data went sideways. Not everything is on fire, just 3 little gremlins doing laps between an edge cache, a stale reconciliation job, and a retry storm that acted like a toddler with candy. I framed the fix like a diner menu. Option A, edge throttle. Option B, last right wins with tombstones. Option C, hybrid, 2-step settle. No buzzwords, just trade-offs. We piloted A in one segment, Midwest Healthcare, B in another, SaaS mid-market, and kept C in our back pocket like a spare battery. Day 2, Hannah from CS pinged me mid-stand-up. Customer Brightline says the numbers finally match their back office. Their ops lead cried. The good cry. I typed back,
We're not selling miracles, we're selling predictability. At noon, Ethan tried to sidestep the room with a quick sync invite to discuss broader architectural implications. I declined and replied to all, let's keep decisions in the bridge stand-up so the whole system learns. No shade, just sunlight. Afternoon, we killed 2 shadow metrics that made dashboards pretty and people slow. Removing them was like opening a window. Less fog, more view. Robbie DM'd me, you just saved us 3 meetings a week. I wrote, compound interest. Boredom pays dividends when it's the right kind. On day 3, we hit the narration cadence. Caroline's team sent customers a 1-paragraph update in plain English. Here's what's changing, here's what you'll see, here's when it settles, here's who to email if it doesn't. Screenshots over slogans. The ticket queue didn't vanish, it civilized itself. I kept a small ritual. After each stand-up, I wrote a 2-sentence memo in the shared doc. What we did, what we learned. It read like a heartbeat. Nobody argued with the heart. Late Thursday, the tracers told the story we needed. Option B won by a nose. Cleaner settles, fewer edge tantrums, happier humans. We circled it in green, published the decision, and gave Lodestar the change window. No ta-da, just there it is. At 6:40 p.m., I shut my laptop and sat in the quiet. The ring in the dish gleamed in the corner like a neutral witness. I remembered the clink of the ring and felt a private, interior smile. Not at him, at me. Discipline is a romance when you realize it's how you keep promises to yourself. I made tea. I wrote tomorrow's agenda in 5 lines. I put my phone face down. The city hummed outside like a long, content exhale. We were ready for Friday. Friday morning began with a calendar ping and a sentence that felt like a door unlocking. Offer letter countersigned. Welcome to Apex. The email had the HR confetti line, sure, but it also had the line that mattered.
I walked into Elena's one-on-one with a printout. Yes, paper. She glanced at the graph, then at me. You did in 12 days what we'd been trying to do in 12 months. I named boring things, I said, and then I made them the things. She leaned back. What's the next mess? Onboarding. We seduce customers with a demo and abandon them in a maze. 2 plays. Kill the novelty tour, replace it with a job to be done path, and embed the glossary into the UI so we don't teach superstition. She smiled. Pitch me Thursday with a small plan that's not small. Copy. Back at my desk, I wrote a note to the bridge team titled, We Did a Thing. 3 bullets, 1 chart, 1 thank you. I sent it. Hannah replied with the digital equivalent of a high five. Leo added a tiny improvement to the tracer. Jasper wrote, We slept this weekend. Keep doing whatever ritual that is. I ate a sandwich like it was celebratory. It was. In the afternoon, compliance pinged me. COI review complete, no concerns. Boring confetti fell invisibly around my laptop. I took a screenshot from my closed loops folder and moved on. After work, I took the ring to a jeweler named Rita who wore magnifying glasses like a crown. What can I do for you? She asked. I tell you what this is worth melted, I said. She waited, peered at it, did math that sounded like a song. You'll get more if you reset the stone, she said. Into what? I looked around at necklaces and studs and a bracelet that looked like it had been made to catch light and keep it. Not sure yet, I said. Maybe nothing, maybe a paperweight that sparkles. Rita smiled the slow smile of a woman who has watched 1,000 stories end and begin under good lighting. You don't have to decide today. I know, I said. I'm enjoying the part where I don't rush. I left the ring there, not as a goodbye, but as a renovation. Revenge is loud and short. Renovation is quiet and permanent. On my way home, I bought flowers for my kitchen table. Not roses, which perform, but tulips, which mind their business. I cooked dinner. I called my mother and told her the parts she deserved to know. I'm safe, I'm good, I'm proud. She cried anyway, because mothers know the parts you don't say. I slept like a house after guests leave, tired in a satisfying way. Wednesday brought a quick alignment invite from a senior Lodestar architect I hadn't met. The agenda was fuzzy by design. We joined. 5 faces, too many titles. He launched. We're concerned that Apex's new definitions may mislead shared enterprise customers. Historically, we've labeled active as... I put up the glossary slide and waited. Historically is why we're here. New labels tied to outcomes, not comfort. If your definition helps a customer make a better decision faster, I'll adopt it in an hour. If not, it goes in the museum. Silence. A smile flickered on one of their engineers' faces like a secret handshake. The architect recalibrated. Perhaps a joint white paper to socialize the shift. Great, I said. 2 pages, 4 diagrams, no adverbs. We assigned owners. We ended clean. My phone buzzed 3 minutes later with a DM from that Lodestar engineer. Thank you for killing Active-ish. It's haunted me since 2019. I sent a single thumbs up. Sometimes the best thank you is not making a thing bigger than it is. In the afternoon, I sharpened the onboarding pitch for Thursday. I titled it like a mechanic. Stop touristing, start working. Slides smelled like WD-40. Friction identified, parts labeled, path clear. At 6 p.m., I picked up the ring from Rita. She'd cleaned it so it sparkled like a bright idea. Decide yet? She asked. Yes, I said. Keep the metal. Reset the stone into a tiny desk paperweight with a flat base. I want to press notes under it and smile. Unusual, she said, delighted. I like unusual. So do I said, and meant it. Thursday, 10 a.m., the onboarding pitch. Room full of people who have seen too many tours and not enough jobs to be done. I didn't sell. I walked them through a before-after storyboard. Before, shiny demo, 12 tabs, customer nodding politely while dying inside. After, day 1 opens to a 3-card lane. Import your data, 5 minutes. Invite your team, 2 roles. Ship 1 small win. Click here. Each card has a time estimate and a tiny progress bar that pays dopamine in truth, not in glitter. People don't want to learn our product. They want to stop being embarrassed in their Tuesday meeting. Let's design for Tuesday at 2 p.m. Caroline chimed in. Electric. We can script CSMs to narrate those 3 cards live, short, adult sentences. Jasper. We can ship the skeleton in 2 sprints if we stop flossing the demo. Elena. Kill the demo. Make the skeleton sing. We assigned owners and dates. I put the plan in the log with 1 line at the top. No more tours, only tools. As people filed out, Elena paused. By the way, nice work with Lodestar this week. You turned heat into light without making it a show. Staying boring is a team sport, I said. She tilted her head. You're good at it. I went back to my desk, set a sticky note under my new paperweight and pressed. The stone caught the morning sun and turned my to-do list into a small constellation. My phone buzzed with a calendar reminder from weeks ago. Therapy at 5 o'clock. I smiled at past me for making current me a priority and clicked confirm. On the train home, I watched strangers hold their own small lives together with earbuds, tote bags, and patience. The city breathed around us, complicated and fine. I got off 2 stops early, walked the long way, and whispered a sentence into the dusk because sometimes you owe the air an update. I'm not moving on. I've moved in to the life I built. The waiting room smelled like lemon cleaner and quiet. I sank into the couch most people choose because it looks safe on Instagram and told Dr. Reyes the short version first. Ring, trash can, offer letter, clean lines. She nodded, the way professionals nod when they're tracing patterns in pencil. What would feel like an upgrade from surviving, she asked. I said unstartleable, at work, at home, everywhere. We built a playbook the same way I build roadmaps. 3 columns, trigger, story my body tells, intervention that doesn't need permission. Trigger. A name on a calendar. E. H. Hartman. Story. You're about to be humiliated. Intervention. Feet on the floor. Name 5 square objects in the room. Slow breath out twice as long as in. Then choose a sentence that starts with outcomes. Outcome. We ship the glossary. We don't ship feelings. Trigger. Someone diminishing a real concern as optics. Story. You're overreacting. Intervention. Ask for the measurable risk, then ask who owns it by name. If no answer, it's not a risk, it's a vibe. Trigger, late night texts, old numbers, new bait. Story, if you don't respond, you're rude. Intervention, silence is an answer, document, delete, sleep. Boundaries aren't walls, Dr. Reyes said, they're physics. The object not allowed to pass simply doesn't. I told her about Apex, the bridge cadence, the glossary, the pilot that turned folklore into mechanism. I told her about the paperweight Rita was making, how I wanted to press memos under it and feel the tick of a past that no longer dictated tempo. And Ethan, she asked? He's a character in a chapter I outlived, I said. The conflict of interest form taught me something. When you put truth in a box and send it to legal, it stops living rent-free in your lungs. She smiled, small and fierce. What's your sentence for the next time he tries to drag you into a personal channel through a professional doorway? I didn't pause. I don't conduct personal business at work. For professional matters, please route through legal. We talked about the women in product panel, the question about balance, and how I'd renamed it Sequence. Dr. Reyes clapped once like a metronome. Sequence is humane, she said. It lets you be a person who's allowed to be excellent at one thing at a time. Before she left, she handed me homework.
A list of 10 things that make your Tuesday 10% easier. Not glam, not Instagram. Things like a full water bottle on my desk, clear socks in my drawer, an email template for no. I walked home through a city that looked the same and felt different. I bought a lemon candle from my kitchen and lit it while I drafted an internal doc called How We Say No, so work can say yes. 3 templates, 5 examples, 1 principle. No is a gift when it makes room for the right yes. I slept with the window cracked, cool air, distant traffic, a future humming like a refrigerator that never lies.
I ate a bowl of rice that tasted like patience and texted Dr. Reyes my homework. Tuesday made 10% easier by incident templates, water bottle filled, sneakers by door. She responded with a single star. Approval without applause, my favorite kind. I slept, not like a hero, like a person with systems. The subject line wore a suit. Lodestar, organizational update. It hit my inbox at 7:03 a.m. like a careful knock. The body was the color of HR and the tone of corporate winter. Restructuring, realignment, a paragraph that apologized without verbs. The attachment listed names like a phone book shedding pages. I scanned not for schadenfreude, but for risk. Which projects touched ours? Which humans carried keys we needed? Which handoffs required a human sentence, not a ticket? 3 names mattered to the bridge cadence. I sent notes that were kind and executable. Here's the decision log link. Here's the glossary. Here's our Tuesday skeleton. I'm here if you want a tour, not a tour. 2 replied with relief, 1 with silence. I left room for dignity. At 9:20, a separate email with a familiar gravity slid in. Final separation agreement, signature requested. Not from Apex, from my lawyer. Months of drafts and delays and we'll revisit after the holidays condensed into a PDF and a blue box that said, sign. I read every line like I was renovating a house that used to trap drafts. No spousal access to devices, no shared accounts, boundaries with physics. I initialed each page, signed the last, and watched the confirmation banner float up like a small, sane balloon. I didn't text anyone, I didn't post a quote. I stood at the sink and counted 5 square objects, Dr. Reyes' trick, and felt my body sit deeper in itself. Closure is not fireworks. It's quiet weight settling in the right place. At 11, Elena pinged. Industry roundtable next week. Topic, trustable data at scale. Panelists, 2 CTOs, 1 CS leader, 1 vendor architect. Lodestar sending their VP of platform. She added a smiling dagger. Want it? Yes, I typed. Not to spar, to serve. That afternoon, the narrative machine tried to spin. A Slack DM from a friend in a different org. FYI, heard a rumor you joined Apex to get back at an ex. Wild? I felt the old startled knock, then watched it leave without a chair. I replied with a sentence that didn't fight, just reframed. I joined Apex to build boring mechanisms that make wild days survivable. Rumors don't ship. She reacted with a heart-size emoji that made me forgive the internet, briefly. I wrote the round table spine on an index card. Thesis: trust isn't a vibe, it's a timestamp. Mechanism: glossary, cadence, narration. Proof: Tuesday at 2 p.m. Sev 1 that didn't spin us. Line to live by. Screenshots over slogans. Then I built the 1-minute story I'd tell if someone fished for drama. Once, my ring hit a trash can. It sounded like an ending. It was a starting gun. The work since then has been the least romantic thing on earth. Calendars, decisions, commas in contracts. That's where trust lives. I printed it. The printer, the one the CFO bought me with a shrug and my undying gratitude, hummed like a small, loyal animal. I slid the paper under the paperweight. The stone held it like a witness. At 4:02, Apex Recruiting forwarded a calendar hold with the titled honesty only Elena uses. Carrier track, strategic initiatives, lead to principal. Monday, 8:30 a.m. No balloons, just the staircase drawn in pencil. At 5:49, the doorbell rang. A courier, neutral face, neutral box. Inside, a plain envelope, hand-addressed.
I opened it with a butter knife because I don't own a letter opener yet. 1 page. A sentence I recognized. His cadence, his pivot. This doesn't have to be adversarial. We can align optics. No signature, no ask. Just a fishing line. I folded it once, slid it into a folder labeled Noise, and put the folder in a drawer where fire can't find oxygen. Then I poured tea and watched the street for a minute the way people watch aquariums. My phone buzzed. Maya, roundtable prep on Sunday? I'll bring prompts, you bring that timestamp, not vibe line. Deal, I typed. She added, also, proud of you, not for the panel, for the quiet paperwork. I swallowed around a knot that wasn't sad. Me too, I wrote, and set the phone face down like a boundary. Night pulled the city into softer shapes. I wrote Monday's list in small letters that felt like the truth when your voice is tired. Sleep, water, printer paper. Boring first, shine later. I set the paperweight on top and pressed until the stone left a faint circle on the cardstock like a lunar stamp. Somewhere across town, a VP of platform I once shared a rent with was probably rearranging his calendar. Somewhere in my chest, a story unhooked itself from the old plot and found a new spine. The invite for the round table lit my screen. I accepted. A moment later, another ping. Internal, principal track conversation, Elena, Ravi. 2 doors, 2 rooms, both opening. I turned off the lamp. The lemon candle smoked its goodbye curl. The dark made a promise back. Tomorrow is made of small, right things. The auditorium lights did that generous thing where they forgive your pores. 4 chairs, 4 name placards. 2 CTOs who smelled like uptime in coffee. Caroline carrying customer trust like a violin. And Vikram Sen, Lodestar's VP of platform. Calm, ironed, the kind of man who can make an adjective feel like a policy. The moderator smiled like this was about opinions. I prepped like it was about evidence. Welcome to Trustable Data at Scale, she began. Let's start with first principles. What is trust, technically speaking? I didn't let my mouth write poetry. I said, a timestamp tied to a claim that survives the next 10 minutes. If it can't be re-verified, it's a story. Stories are lovely. Decisions need clocks. Vikram nodded, the international sign for I'll allow it. And yet, he said, trust is also experience. People trust systems that feel fast and consistent. Exactly, I said. That's why we publish a cadence. What changes when, who owns it, how it rolls back. Experience without cadence is a magic trick. We do mechanics, not magic. CTO number 1, gray curls, shoes that whispered, I bike to work, leaned in. Where does glossary hygiene sit in your org? Everywhere, I said. We killed the shadow dictionary. We have one truth surface with owners by name. If 2 walls disagree on active, a human fixes it or it doesn't ship. Caroline added, we put the glossary in front of customers. If your definition requires a decoder ring, it goes in the museum. The moderator smiled. You've both mentioned museums twice. What lives there? I ticked them off like exhibits. Active-ish, engagement hours, any graph that flatters leadership and slows operators. We label them, we don't do this anymore, so future interns don't resurrect ghosts. Laughter, the good kind, the shoulder-dropping kind. We switched to failure modes. The moderator, hunting blood, asked for war stories that wouldn't violate NDAs. I gave her Sev 1 Lite. Dashboards went stale, numbers were safe, but embarrassing. We had 2 suspects, ran a cordoned pilot, picked the culprit, narrated the wobble, and restored truth in 50 minutes. The important part wasn't heroics, it was the heartbeat. Updates at the 00 and the 30, receipts in the log. Vikram nodded again. Our experience has been similar, but slower when approvals bottleneck. I finished and smiled like I hadn't. We centralized visibility, not permission. That shaved hours and egos. A hand shot up from the audience.
What about conflicts of interest? How do you keep personal from contaminating professional when vendors and customers are intertwined? The room glanced at me without moving its head. I didn't blink. Sunlight and paperwork, I said. We disclose, document, and route anything squishy through legal. Then we get boring on purpose. Decisions live in the log, not in text messages. Drama hates paper. A CTO chuckled. Vikram's pen stopped moving. The moderator went for her closer. If you could tattoo one sentence on every dashboard, what would it be? Caroline, tell the truth even when it wrinkles the slide. CTO number 1, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. Vikram, consistency first, performance follows. Me, screenshots over slogans. Applause didn't spike, it settled. The kind of approval that buys you room, not roses. Afterward, hall talk. Operators with questions that sounded like hope. A junior PM clutched her notebook like a flotation device. How do you not get rattled when someone with a bigger title tries to rewrite the scene? I handed her a sticky rule. Anchor to outcomes and speak in timestamps. If they pull you into adjectives, ask for the metric and the owner. If they want